We now move on to a very engaging panel discussion titled Stories That Serve Editors of Change. Friends, this session brings together some truly inspiring personalities who have used their words, vision, and leadership to influence society and create a meaningful impact. Through their journeys, we will explore how stories can become powerful tools for change, shaping communities and inspiring actions. I call upon past President Sucheta Rege to introduce the great luminaries, Ms. Karon Shaiva and Ms. Rasheeda Bhagat. To guide this dialogue and bring out the best of their perspectives, I also invite our own Dr. Seetha Raju. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Seetha Raju, Ms. Karon Shaiva, and Ms. Rasheeda Bhagat.
Friends, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the moderator for this session, Dr. Seetha Raju, a highly respected name in the field of medicine and a shining example of dedication, excellence, and compassion. She is the ex-associate professor and assistant honorary physician at Rajiv Gandhi Medical College and the proprietor and consulting physician at Dr. Raju's Hospital, Thane. She also serves as a director and consulting physician at Param Hospital and ICU and as honorary physician at Jupiter Hospital, Thane. Dr. Seetha, she has been an eminent faculty member at several state and national conferences such as MAPCON, APICON and RSSDI, and she also contributes as faculty for the Public Health Foundation of India, training doctors in evidence-based diabetes management. Her remarkable service has earned her the Outstanding Service Award by the Indian Academy of Diabetes and the Women Achievers Award presented by Ms. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw in March 2023. Along with her professional accomplishments, she also nurtures a love for literature as an active member of the Wordsworth Club. With her warmth, clarity of thought, and people connect, Dr. Seetha is the perfect choice to moderate this conversation on stories that serve, editors of change. Please welcome Dr. Seetha Raju as she takes charge of today's panel featuring Karon Shaiva and Rasheeda Bhagat. Our first panelist is Karon Shaiva, an award-winning social entrepreneur with over 25 years of global experience across technology, education, finance, gemology, and social development. She is the founder of Idogrop Impact Solutions and the Rise Infinity Foundation. She has pioneered several groundbreaking initiatives like including volunteer insurance during the pandemic. Her contributions to advancing gender equality have been recognized by UN Women, and her leadership journey is marked by prestigious fellowships such as the Chevening CRISP, that is the Chevening Research, Science and Innovation Leadership Fellowship from Oxford University, Senior Fellowship at the Institute of Social Innovation USA, and the World Bank, the Confederation of Indian Industry Women Directorship Program. Her inspiring story has been featured in She Is 75 Women in STEAM, that is, women from the fields of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Also in Chicken Soup for the Indian Women's Soul and Pioneers of Tomorrow. She is also the co-author of The Spark Within, inspiring stories of 30 change makers. Please join me in welcoming Karon Shaiva. Our next panelist, Rasheeda Bhagat, is a highly respected senior journalist with a distinguished career spanning over 3 decades. She worked with the Indian Express for 18 years, where she rose to the position of Chief of Bureau and later spent another 18 years with the Hindu Business Line as Senior Associate Editor, Editorial Consultant and Columnist. At present, she serves as the Editor of Rotary News, the official regional magazine of Rotary International, which reaches a readership of over 1.6 lakh across India. Throughout her career, Ms. Bhagat has been deeply engaged in writing on crucial issues such as gender equity, health and sanitation, agriculture, conflict resolution, and the environment, bringing insight and sensitivity to topics that impact society at large. We are delighted to have her with us today. Please welcome Rasheeda Bhagat.
Thank you, Suchita, for that introduction. It's an honor and privilege to share the dais with two stalwarts, two wonderful ladies who have made a conscious effort to bring about a change in society. Um, Today's topic for conversation is stories that serve editors of change. Would have got all of you thinking, as it did all of us, as to what exactly it meant. They are the stories of ordinary people who did extraordinary things with compassion to change humanity, their service to others. And these two great individuals, Rashida and Karon, have brought out these little stories to our notice. So it's a pleasure to be here with both of you. I must tell you, when I first spoke to them, I was wondering what I was in for. Are they too big for me? Would they answer my questions? Would they answer the call? It began with that. But I was so surprised. The first ring and they both answered. When I spoke to Karon, she assured me and she somehow sent out a message, I'm one of you, don't worry. And then I spoke to Rasheeda and she put me at ease. She said, don't worry, I'll hear the conversation, you just sit there. So I was so much at ease. And then I said, I must take this challenge of interviewing them. And Rasheeda ended by saying, thank you, Ma. Now, to any South Indian, that is a very endearing word, meaning love, affection, care. So I was so touched. Thank you for that, Rasheeda. So let's.
You, Seetha, what you've just done is let everybody know over here that we like to talk.
That was the intent. So, having said that, let's get going. Um, let's start with Karon. Okay, she's co-authored a book, The Spark Within, Stories of Ordinary People Igniting Social Changes. Telling and more so writing stories is a challenge to hold people's interest. Tell me about your story that you've written, The Spark Within.
Thank you so very much. First and foremost, I do want to say that this is a story of 30 real stories of 30 change makers. I am just one of them. And I really want to call that out and recognize the other 29 authors who have made this book possible. And that's really the theme of today as to how to bring people together. So I do want to start with that element. As far as my story is concerned, and I'll talk about two of the authors who are also in the audience today. When my story is concerned, which is the first one in the book, and I hope some of you will have a chance to read it, is about Pallavi. Pallavi, a young mother of a 2-year-old, old parents, and pregnant. Yeah. And she was a volunteer, the sole volunteer we had in Nellore during COVID. She got 3,700 people. You know, that doesn't sound like a very big number, but think of it in the time of COVID. And she helped them to go back to their states, wherever it was in India, as far as the Northeast. And she finally succumbed to COVID after giving birth to her baby 40 days later. 40-day-old baby. We were stunned. We were grieving. But just like all the other authors in this book, who turn adversity, who turn loss, who turn disability into an opportunity to create impact, to make it better for someone else, hopefully, our organization decided that we would ensure that every volunteer who comes up, especially those from grassroots who do not have the options of insurance, do not have any kind of safety net, would not be left alone just because they had no other option. And so that led to a program called the National Volunteer Safety Net Program, which is the first of its kind in India, that helped volunteers to get insurance at that point in time. And of course, there's a lot more technicalities to why that was such a big challenge. It took us a year to do it, let me tell you. You get insurance in what? 12 seconds they promise you in these ads, right, today? Or 12 minutes maybe, right? It took us a year to get it done because there's so many other technical challenges, and I hope you read more about it. But very quickly, that's really the story about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Karon. The two other authors whom she's talking about are both doctors.
Yes.
Dr. Anil Lunia and Dr. Prasanna Menon. And both doctors from Thane.
Yes,
yeah, do stand up and get recognized.
Please,
I know them very well.
Absolutely.
We know of their service very well. Welcome to this fest. Now we'll speak to Rasheeda. You were with the Indian Express and the Hindu Business Line, and after retirement, you chose to be an editor for Rotary magazine. How is the transition from core development to social stories?
Well, two are very, very different fields. I must say that mainstream journalism, and that too daily journalism, working for a paper like the Indian Express for 18 years, the job was very challenging, exciting, and I was the first woman reporter for a mainstream English daily in Indian Express to join Indian Express in 1978. That makes me very ancient. So it was a challenge. People had not seen a woman reporting. Women were there at the desk, editing, but not on the field. So a lot of challenges were there, a lot of opposition was there. How can a woman, come out and report? That's a man's job. It was a very, very exciting time to be in journalism, exciting time to be in the media. I'm happy I'm not in mainstream media today. The media scene is very different, I'm sorry to say today. Anyway, going back to the Express, they were very, very eventful 18 years. Seetha mentioned about, small people, and she felt small. My entire career has been spent, my ambition has been to write on small people, about small people, because tell their stories. So when I look back, I did work which was different. I would always, I'd run away from politicians, interviewing chief ministers and others. And I would like to, tell small stories. So I did different kind of work. There were a lot of conflict with the chief reporter who did not want a woman reporter. He would not give me work for days. So I said, okay, what's happening at a government general hospital? That is the biggest government hospital in Chennai. For a week, since I didn't have work, I would go from morning to evening, walk around the place and watch what was happening in the government hospital. And I wrote a series of articles about how ward boys were suturing wounds, nurses were changing tube lights, because, and all kinds of things were happening. Gambling dens, even some kind of prostitution was going on, all kinds of things were happening. And this was published as a series. MGR was then the chief minister, and he said, my God, this is happening in our government hospital. He immediately appointed a committee. The Tamil Nadu Assembly took it up, and So I came to notice whatever I did. First, I began to get noticed because I was a woman reporter. But then, because of kind of work, challenging work, Seetha, there was a godman, fake godman, near in Pudukkottai. He used to rape destitute women. He used to run an ashram, which was kind of, like if you go there, it was like a 7-star resort. And Europeans and Americans and others would come looking for nirvana in this place, and money would come in dollars. But what was really happening was rape. 2 of those destitute girls came to my office one day in the Express and said, this is happening. So I said, has it happened to you? A man had brought them. They looked uncomfortable. I threw him out of my cabin and said, talk to me. And then I wrote 2 articles about, and entire media picked it up. He was sent to he was given double life imprisonment. He died in prison. And So many stories. I went to Jaffna. I have gone several times to Pakistan. In fact, we were discussing at lunch that to Indo-Pak conflict. Gone to Kashmir several times. Talked to people in the valley and found out what was happening. Talked to the armed forces, and gone to the northeast where people have told me, "You go back and tell Indians." And I said, "My God, are you not Indians?" So that kind of work. I was very lucky to get that opportunity to do that kind of work. So that was very different work. But there was not a disconnect, Seetha, between that work and Rotary, because I always loved to write about small people, small things, their hopes, their aspirations. Let me stop here. We can talk later.
Karon, why are we seeing a growth in anthologies, small pieces of writing? And why are they getting so popular?
I'm going to ask the audience this question. What do you think is the attention span that you have? How 5 seconds. There you go. There's your answer, right? We have such short attention span that it's almost impossible. Okay, one more quick question for the audience. When is the last time you managed to finish a book? Finish a book. How many of you finished a book? Okay, how many of you have got half-read books at home? There's your answer, right? And that's what it is, right? That today it's so difficult. We don't have the time to read a full book, no matter how interesting. And it's no reflection on the book, right? It's no reflection on the book. It's just the reality of time. And so anthologies, I think, are a fantastic option to, a full-fledged book. I'm not saying you shouldn't write books. Of course, those who have the time, to both write and read, go for it, right? But there is also a very large segment of society that will not have the time. And therefore, when you have an anthology, it just becomes so much more easier for them to read it at their own pace, when they feel like, from the middle of the book, from the back of the book, from the front of the book. Doesn't matter, right? And I think that's really the essential thing. Also, what happens is in an anthology, because they are all related to a particular theme, but with different stories, you see the same aspect reflected with different facets. And so you really see the whole landscape around it, right? So if I talk about social impact, because this particular book, of course, is about social impact, you understand it in its multifold dimensions. Whereas a typical book, kind of has more of a chronological, very, very, I'm not saying that, but it would be a little inaccurate to say that. But what I'm trying to say is the kind of facets you get to see of the same theme when you go through an anthology as compared to maybe a novel or any kind of fiction, non-fiction book is very different. So I think
True, the habit of reading is dying, very sadly. Rasheeda, Rotary magazine covers India and Nepal. And how do you choose the people to be projected and the projects to be published? And if I may ask so, is there any interference?
There is attempt for interference, of course. See, I have one monthly magazine, and we have how many? 4,000 clubs in India? More than that? 40 districts, 40 plus districts, so many projects being done, so the pressure is on us. That, but I have only one magazine. And so many clubs say that Times of India has carried it, or Indian Express has carried an article, and you can't add. I say they are dailies and they are editions. Not all the editions of Times of India or Hindu carry article. The local ones do. I have only 30 pages. How do I choose projects? First of all, when projects are sent, they have to have a story. Story to tell with the face. See, Rotarians are doing great work in India. They're slowly changing the face of India, little by little by little. But how is that story to be told? She's a storyteller and she knows. You give numbers, 4 crores, 5 crores, 100 crores, 1,000 crores, nobody, you will not get the people to read. They are, after all, cold figures. You put a human face to that story, you put a voice to that story, you put a visual to that story. And that story is so. So some of the clubs are smart enough, to at least tell us how they are benefiting people. I don't go, I'm sorry, but I don't take projects which just portray and showcase Rotarians. No, you are not important. The people whose lives you're changing are important. So those are the I mean, there are fantastic projects. Like one woman, I think in MP, she was one professor, retired professor. She was holding classes for slum children on the roads outside her house, and then later, And these people, these children, because they got decent education, she hired two teachers, and they went on to school, college, and even professional courses. What a thing to do. There was another woman, Rotarian, who rescued people from rockets. Sakis, she would call them Sakis. And fantastic projects like that. If such stories come to me, I mean, these are stories screaming to be written, to be told, because these Rotarians are really making a big difference. So it just experience tells you, when you look at a mail which has come landed in your inbox, it may be scrappily written, that doesn't matter, because you're not journalists, we are. So I tell people, don't worry about the writing part. People try to compose articles, put PDF, that is not required. You just give me a story, give me a number. We call them back, and then we interview them and do the stories. So fantastic stories. Check dams in Rajasthan, the way, it reversed migration, people going away. People started coming back because there was, work in their own land, like that. So stories are chosen like that, projects.
A pat on the back for RCTH, because Jan 2024, our blood bank, the Triumph Run, and the Autism Center were featured by Rasheeda. So 3 cheers for Rotary Club of Thane Hills. Karon, how can you encourage more and more people to tell their stories? Some are very shy, do not want to make it public. So how can you edge them to write?
So I think first and foremost, keeping in mind the theme of today, I would like to also acknowledge Amit Suri, who's the editor of this book. And editing is a very, very difficult task. Okay, it's a very cruel task. Because in the morning also we heard about it in films, right? You just have to keep cut, right? So, I mean, you write a story that is so long and then somebody says, no, it has to be, made concise and crisp. So I think one is understanding that stories, as you say, have to be conveyed in a particular manner, right? So editing is such a role that really is very, very important. Unfortunately, it's a back of the scene thing. So you don't have enough of editors. You don't have enough of good editors. And I have heard this time and again, whether it is scientific journals or whether it is non-fiction story writing, right? To get it to be reviewed, to get a peer review done, etc. is very difficult. So I do want to call that out. Please encourage and recognize editors and encourage people to be editors, because storytellers need editors, first. Second is storytellers themselves don't really understand, or people who have stories inside them don't know how to convey, just as what you just said, Rasheeda. And so how do you really go through that process of, taking out what matters? I think very recently, unfortunately, we lost Piyush Pandey, and he is known for that one line that he says, keep it simple, say what matters, right? And I think that's what storytelling is all about. How do you keep it simple so it touches the heart? Not the head first. It has to touch the heart first. When it touches the heart, it will reach the head somehow. Somehow the other, it will reach the head, right? And second is say what matters. And that's editing, right? So I think that's what we need to do. But a story lies in each of you. So everybody here is a storyteller. I can assure you that.
That I can assure. Rasheeda, you've been to Afghanistan and Iraq. What were the challenges you faced in writing about women there? Because it's so difficult to even speak to them.
Afghanistan, if I think of Afghanistan and the women of Afghanistan, I want to cry. I visited Afghanistan in 2005 when I was in the Hindu business line. I was trying to get women's stories. Now, the Taliban had kind of been ousted out, had gone, but still I found women wearing those blue chadars and going around. So there's a famous street called the Chicken Street, where, it's kind of bubbling with activity. I tried to talk to women. The moment I would approach a woman, she would run away. They were so scared because they thought the Taliban was still spying on them. So I was tearing my hair out because wherever I go, I want to tell women stories. And in a country like Islamic country like Afghanistan, if you don't tell women stories, the trip is not worth it. Then somebody told me that there is a place called Baghe Zanana. You know what it means, a garden for women, where women come on Fridays. It was established by the Shah. Of course, Taliban shut it down and everything. And there was a young woman called Nihar who was trying to revive it. And women had started coming there. So I said, why don't you go there on a Friday? So I went there armed with my camera, my notepad and all that on a Friday. And it was a different story. Here the women had all thrown away their burqas. They had brought picnic baskets, and they were picnicking. How to talk to them? I found a 12-year-old girl who could speak English. And she became my kind of assistant. And I went around groups of women and talked to them. Heartbreaking stories. When they found out I was an Indian, they all crowded around me and said that India was helping Afghanistan in those years in a very big way. And it was, India is always admired. Even in Pakistan, you will not believe it. The people of Pakistan, they really admire India. They said, देखो आप लोग कहाँ निकल गए हम कहाँ रह गए, that kind of thing. So Afghanistan, people used to say, oh, India. Same in Iraq. I'll come to Iraq later. So when they found out that I was from India, Indian doctors were there then, medical missions were there trying. They said, can you please give us some, get some birth control pills for us. Our husbands won't listen to us, Our bodies are tired, giving birth to babies year after year after year. So sad to hear that. On the other hand, there was another small group of women saying that India is, medical, my God, you're such a developed country. We are barren, that is the word they used. We don't have children. Can you help us, put us in touch with some doctors who can give us something, some fertility treatment. Others wanted Shah Rukh Khan's number, young girls, And I said, if I had his number, I would also like to talk to him. But the admiration and this thing for India was amazing. I went to a carpet shop and that carpet seller, I said, okay, India is helping you, you admire India, I get it. What more would you like India to do for you? And he said, we don't want your money, but you have such a great education system. Take 500 of our girls and boys and educate them in your institutions. They will change the face of Afghanistan. These are the kind of stories. And, the girls had just started going back to school. And now after the Americans left, I've been following. It's just gone back. The schools are closed. The girls are back home. And it's a very, very sad story. Coming to Iraq, I wanted to go to Iraq. So I told my boss in a business line that I want to go to Iraq. He said, sure, go ahead. And mind you, he will not agree this to anybody because we are a business paper. But he knew if I go there, I'll get, stories worth telling. So how do I get the visa to go there? And Iraq embassy in Delhi said, we don't know who is ruling us because this was first time I went to Iraq in 2003. And this was just after Saddam had not yet been caught. Said, we don't know, we are not, I called them, Americans, of course, you can't call and talk to the British. And they said, no, we have nothing to do with it. So then I joined, I'm a Shia Muslim. And the Boris were going there. So I joined a pilgrimage group going there. So because that was the only way. They said they will stamp your visa on arrival. So I went to Dubai, took a ferry from Dubai to Basra port. It was supposed to take 48 hours. It took double the time because the ship was stopped and the American Marines boarded. And they were searching for, we were all called on the deck, they were searching for, so the sniffer dogs were brought and all. But what I got during those 3 days were people from all over the world were there on that ferry, Dubai to Iraq, to Basra. They said, we finally, there is Saddam is in hiding and we want to see whether we can return. They are all run away. We want to return to this land. And the sad story was when I went back, they were all back. Saying no, Iraq had degenerated into chaos. Women I met there who had been professors of finance, management, they were all in black burqas, sitting there. They have been asked not to work. because the Shias had taken over. Saddam, for all his, might have been a dictator, but Iraq had a women's football team. Iraq had a trading exchange, a trading floor for women who used to, play the stock markets. It was a very developed country under him. But it went back to chaos, and we know what is happening. It was just degenerated into a kind of a civil war. All kinds of Shias, Sunnis, and all kinds of elements, terrorism, all kinds of things are happening. So I must have written at least about 12 or 15 stories from there, telling the sad story of Iraq. I mean, these nations were kind of, it looked as though God had forgotten these people, kind of forsaken these people, Afghanistan, Iraq. Very sad stories.
This is all andar ki baat that we are hearing. So maybe we'll change our opinions too. Karan, you were awarded by the UN for advancing gender equality. Tell us a little about that.
Okay. Well, again, maybe a reflection of the kind of people in this book. But the award was for leadership commitment. So the idea being that in any organization, what kind of policies do you put in place so that you can hire people with diversity, right? And, I am just so glad to be able to say that, God has given me the opportunity to, I wouldn't say help, because I think that's a wrong way. It's more like as though I'm helping, but definitely to engage with women from absolutely every vulnerable group you can think about. Whether it is, acid survivors, TB survivors, women with disabilities, mental, physical, early learners, late learners, widows, orphans, divorcees, any other minority. I think the only vulnerable group that we did not have in our office was the LGBTQ, and I think we had, but it was not a publicly announced thing, and so nobody ever spoke about it. But I think even that got covered, if not officially, unofficially. So I think that's the reason why we got that award. And I just want to say this one thing: we all have the power to change people's lives. All. There is no one here who cannot do that. A person with disability can very well sit at the side of somebody who's sick with TB and read a book to them. Yeah, the oldest person in the room can just give their time and wisdom to someone else. So there is no one who cannot change someone else's life, and I think that's just the opportunity that God gives.
On the lighter side, the youth must accept the wisdom of the elderly. On the lighter side.
Well, just a quick joke, okay? I mean, there are times where kids can turn around and tell their parents and say, okay, tell me, what do you want to know? Yeah. So, it works both ways, but yeah, sure.
Rasheeda, you've traveled around the globe. You've met many luminaries. Anybody who has impressed you and whom you found so interesting that you could tell us about? Someone hatke.
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I've met all kinds of people all over the world. But I'll talk about my present role in the Rotary as a magazine editor. I told you these some remarkable women Rotarians who are changing lives. But one guy, I can say so without making it, derogatory, is Ravi Shankar Dakuju. He's famous for giving 100 crores to the Rotary Foundation, and I'm not saying it because of his money, but I don't know, I have interacted closely. When I found out first that he had donated 100 crores to the foundation, naturally, I wanted to interview him, and they said, no, it's very difficult to interview him, and he's very busy, blah, 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 blah. But, finally I got him on the phone, and I did a phone interview. And remarkable story. What a story he had to tell. He comes from a family of 7. His father died. He was in that, this Buddhan movement, and he was with Baba and things like that. And his father died, and his mother was left to look after 7 children. And she really worked very hard. Literally, as a maid in homes and, cleaning vessels and sweeping homes to kind of bring up these children. And he said, as a young child, he would sometimes be so hungry, he would just take a bus and go somewhere and, to a friend's house, just knock on the door, and some lady would open the door and he would say, "Ma, I'm very hungry, feed me." And he said, nobody ever said no to me. I would always be giving some rice, some roti, whatever it is. So he says, it is society which has taken care of me. So I am giving back to society. That is one part of the story. The other part is what he's trying to do with all the money he has got, because he has become so rich, he told me, because of land parcels. He's a builder and got lucky with land parcels. So he is a very, very passionate environmentalist. And what I like about him is it's not only just planting trees. I went to the KGF, Kola gold mines, from where the British extracted the gold and left behind cyanide dumps. Nothing could grow there. You know that cyanide dust used to fly over the township and people had cancer and asthma, all kinds of health issues. He has planted trees in that place. And right now he has got in Goa, in Karnataka, I think parts of Mumbai. He's got all kinds of partnerships, and he's not thinking of just 1 acre or 2 acres. It's 100 acres. So 2 months ago I did a cover story on what the project, and past President K. R. Ravindran wrote back a lovely letter and a long letter to say that I was amazed to read of the work this man has done. He was complimenting both me and him in the process, saying, I don't know how you put the story together, because it's all over the place. It's very difficult to tell a story like this, but you somehow, put it together. And what this man is doing is not planting trees or creating pockets. He's leaving behind a legacy. And that is, he was talking about, Mr. Bhatt was telling us, Harish Bhatt was telling us about how Ratan Tata never used to say that, when somebody asked what's going to be a legacy. So, to leave behind a legacy for the future generations or something. That man has really impressed me. He's really had care. He just, he'll talk all kinds of things. It's very difficult to pin him down. When I told Ravi, the past President Ravindran, I told Ravi it was a very difficult story to write, because this man won't stick to the topic. You ask him a question, he will go all over the place and say, Ravi, please answer my question, you're going all over the place. But he is really something.
Thank you so much, Karon and Rasheeda. Summing up the session, for Karon, I would say, what better describes her than Walt Disney's words? The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And for Rasheeda, I would say, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Martin Luther King. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Yeah, sure.
Tribute to Pallavi.
Sure.
Just a very short.
Sure.
So I read from the book about Pallavi. How does one measure compassion? How does one evaluate love for humanity? In the darkest hours of the COVID crisis that ravaged India, countless volunteers emerged as heroes. Yet, amongst such elite company, Sai Pallavi stood out as a shining beacon of compassion, courage, and sheer dedication. This was Pallavi, known to thousands of migrant workers simply as Dida, sister. Pallavi, we miss you.
Friends, let us express our appreciation with a bigger round of applause for our speakers, Karon Shaiva, Ms. Rasheeda Bhagat, and a wonderful discussion session with Dr. Seetha Raju. May I call upon President Samir Limaye, Dr. Sujata Jadhav, Convener Atul Bide, to present a small token of our gratitude.